Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make just a simple Easter egg. You can make them any color you want, use them for decoration, put them in the basket like I did. They're probably about 3 inches tall, about 2 inches wide, and they're actually pretty easy to do. So let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, for this project I am using Peaches and Cream, which is a 100% cotton medium 4-way. I also use some Premier, which is a cotton polyester blend. So I actually just used some scraps of some cotton yarn that I had. And you can also probably use a 4-way acrylic would also probably work too. So any 4-weight yarn I'm sure would work just fine. So I just used, like I said, I just used some scrap colors that I had. And then I'm going to be using a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. This is a pretty easy pattern. You're going to need some fiber fill also to fill the eggs with, some of that fuzzy stuff. Or you can use like old yarn scraps or something to fill it up with. People use that sometimes. And as always, I want to ask you not to forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you look in the lower right hand corner, you will see a little red subscribe button. If you click on that, you'll never miss any of my updates. Also, if you think you like these eggs, you think they're pretty cute, easy to make, if you could give me a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with a slip knot on our hook. And we're going to work a chain of 3. And we're going to slip stitch into the first chain to form a little ring. Just like that. And then we're going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Now we're going to work in the center of the ring and we're going to work 6 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now you can pull that tail, usually close up that center circle. Now we're going to need some sort of a stitch marker here. I'm just going to use a piece of yarn. So you want to put it right here after your 6th stitch here on round 1. That way you know where you end and where you begin. There we go. Now at the end of round 1 there, you should have 6 stitches. And we're going to be working in a continual round, so we won't be slip stitching our rounds together. So what we're going to do is jump over to our first single crochet. Not this chain 1, but the very first single crochet that we made, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into that stitch. And now we're going to work around for round 2, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into every stitch until we get back to our stitch marker. Alright, now when you make it back to the beginning, or back to the end of round 2, you should have, you're at your stitch marker, you should have 12 single crochets now at the end of round 2. So we're going to pull our marker up, and we're going to start round 3. So pull it up and put it right here. And we're going to start again. Now round 3 is 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And then 2 single crochets into the next. And that's what we're going to repeat all the way around. 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And then 2 single crochets into the next. 1 single into the next, and then 2 singles into the next. And we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 3. Now you should have ended with 2 single crochets into that last stitch before your stitch marker, and you should have 18 stitches now. Round 4, we're going to go and pull our stitch marker up, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So we're just going to put 1 single crochet into each stitch until we get back to our stitch marker. Oops. It's like this. 1 single in every stitch until we get back around to here. Alright, I've made it back around at the end of round 4, and you still should have 18 stitches. So we're going to go ahead and move our stitch marker up. Now round 5, what we're going to do is put 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 single, 1 single, and then the next stitch is going to get 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So there's 1 and 2 into the same. And that's what we're going to repeat now for round 5. 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 in the next, so there was 2 in a row, and then the next stitch will get 2 singles into the same stitch. Repeat it again, 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And then 2 single crochets into the next. And that's the pattern I'm going to repeat all the way around now for round 5 until I get back to my stitch marker. 1 single, 1 single, 2 singles. 1 single, 1 single, 2 singles. All the way back to here. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 5. Your last stitch before the stitch marker should have had 2 single crochets in it, and now you should have a total of 24 stitches. So for round 6, we're going to pull our stitch marker up. Now round 6, 7, and 8 are all the same. We're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch. So we're going to start at round 6. We're just going to work around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get back to our stitch marker. When we get back to our stitch marker, we'll have 24 stitches still. Just move your marker up and begin round 7, working 1 single crochet in every stitch. Move your marker up, you'll have 24 stitches, and then begin round 8. So 6, 7, and 8, 3 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, 24 stitches at the end of every round, and I will meet back up with you after I finish out round 8. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 8, and I still have my 24 stitches. So now we're going to go ahead and pull our stitch marker up. Now round 9, we're going to do a round of decreases. So we're going to start off by putting 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches. And then we're going to work a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So a single crochet decrease is worked over 2 stitches. So what we're going to do is go into the next stitch and drop a loop. And then we're going to go into the next one and drop a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and go through all 3. And that is a single crochet decrease that took 2 stitches and made it into 1. So we're going to kind of repeat what we just did. We're going to put 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. There's 1 and 2. Now we're going to single crochet decrease over the next 2. So we're going to go into the next one, drop a loop, and then into the next one, drop a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through all 3 loops like that. Repeat it again. 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And single crochet decrease over the next 2. So go into the next, draw up a loop, into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops, just like that. So we're going to go ahead and repeat that pattern for round 9. 1 single, 1 single, and then single crochet decrease. 1 single, 1 single, single crochet decrease, all the way until we get back around to our stitch marker. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 9. Now your last stitch should have been a decrease, and you should have 18 stitches now. So now we're going to go ahead and pull our stitch marker up for round 10. And now we're just going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So no decreasing on round 10. We're just going to work 1 single in every stitch until we get back to our marker. Alright, I've made it back around, and you should still have 18 stitches. You want to go ahead and move your stitch marker up. And now around 11, we're going to do a round of decreases again. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then decrease over the next 2 stitches. So go into the next, draw up a loop, into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops, and that's what we're going to repeat now. 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then decrease over the next 2 stitches. So go in, draw up a loop, go into the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops. Repeat 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then decrease over the next 2. What I'm going to try to do is get your stitches too as tight as you can. I know it's hard with decreases to keep them tight, but 1 single crochet into the next, and then decrease over the next 2, and we're going to repeat this pattern until we get back to our stitch marker. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 11. Your last stitch should have been a decrease, and now you'll have 12 stitches. Go ahead and pull your marker up, put it back here like that, and now we're going to work round 12 is just 1 single crochet in every stitch around, no decreasing on this round. So I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get back to my stitch marker. It's probably getting kind of tight. Just like this. So 1 single in every stitch till you make it back to your marker. Alright, I've made it back around at the end of round 12. And you should have 12 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my marker because I'm not going to use it anymore. And you want to go ahead and pull your stitch up so you don't lose your spot. Now you want to stuff it with your polyfill or whatever you use to stuff it with. Like I said, some people use yarn scraps and stuff, but I just take this and shove it in with my hook. And you want to do it pretty tight so they don't lose their shape, and you might have to work with it to get it shaped right. Sometimes if I don't have stuffing, I'll tell you a weird story. You probably think I'm creepy after this. I take apart old stuffed animals and I reuse their stuffing. That's weird, ain't it? Cutting up an old stuffed animal and using its usually ones that have just been ripped already, you know, maybe Clark had gotten them and their arms were ripped off or something. I'll dissect them the rest of the way and use their stuffing. Well, you do what you got to do. So this, you just kind of work with it until it gets kind of round all the way around. Like I said, you want to do it kind of tight. Now we're going to do another round of decreases, and we'll put some more stuffing in there here in just a second. So I moved my stitch marker because all we're going to do now is decreases from now on. What we're going to do is 6 decreases. So I'm going to go there's one decrease. We're on round 13. So we're just going to put one single decrease in every stitch until we get back to our starting point. So it's going to be 6 decreases when you get back around. I guess you could have kept your stitch marker there if you wanted to, but it just kind of gets in my way. So I always just move it because I know right here I just have to do 6 decreases. There's 3. It starts to get really tight. That's fine. 4. 5, and one more, 6. I'm going to pull it up again. I'm going to put a little bit more stuffing in here. Have to probably shove it in with your hook. That's what I do, like this, kind of just get the top filled up a little bit more. You stuff it till you feel like it's stuffed good, till you think it looks good. Like I said, you might have to work with it a little bit. But then once you get stuffed up how you feel like you want it to look, looks good to you, then we're going to close up the top. So I'm just going to do, let's see, I'm going to do one more single crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. And I'm going to pull up a tail and I'm going to clip it off. And now I'm going to sew the top up together the rest of the way with my yarn needle. I get my yarn needle here. Should have had it ready. Okay. So just kind of neatly sew the top together. It's pretty closed up, but you'll see there'll be a bit of a hole. I just take it and I'll go across to the other side and just kind of, I'm hiding my tail, but as I'm hiding my tail, I'm actually sewing this top up together too. At the same time. 2 birds with 1 stone. It's the best way to do it. And just do it pretty neatly if you can. That way the top of your rig looks nice. And that's it. Once you get that finished, that's all there is to it. And you got yourself an Easter egg. Let me pull that out a little bit more. There we go. Bam. So, pretty easy peasy. You can make as many as you want and put them in the basket like you see in my picture. Use whatever colors you want, but that's it. That's all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to check out all my other tutorials. I have hundreds of them. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you look up in the top left hand corner, you see a picture of my face. If you click on my face, you'll automatically be subscribed. If you're already subscribed, though, don't click on it because you'll be unsubscribed. But you don't want to miss out on any of my tutorials. And don't forget to check me out on Facebook, too. I'll put a link below to that in the description box. So until next time, have a good day. Thanks, everybody. Okay, for this project, I'm just using regular Red Heart Super Saver worsted weight. Like, you can use any kind of scrap yarn that you have, though. And I'm going to be using a size H. It's a 5mm crochet hook. and you can kind of see about how big it's going to be. A little bit smaller than my hand. Okay, it's going to be quick and easy. So you want to start out with the slip knot, and then I'm going to start out with a chain of 4. And I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring. If you want to start with a magic circle, you can do that too. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to go back into the ring and do 12 double crochets through the center of the ring. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's get these over. 10, 11, and there's 12. Now I'm going to slip stitch into my first one to close this round off. Slip stitch. Now you can usually pull your tail here and it'll make that center circle close up a little tight. Okay, and I'm going to start again by chaining 1. I'm going to go back into the same stitch right here that I just slip stitched into and do 2 double crochets. 1, 2. Now I'm going to work my way around putting 2 double crochets in every stitch just to make my circle a little bigger. Oops, I put 3 in that one. I don't know what's wrong with me. 2 in every stitch. And when you get back around to the beginning, you should have a total of 24 stitches. Okay, once you make it back around, after doing 2 double crochets in every stitch, again we're going to slip stitch into our first double crochet, and that will close that round off like that. Now what we'll do is head real quick, and we're going to do that by chaining 1, and we're going to go back into the same stitch and put 4 double crochets in the same stitch that we just slip stitched into. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, all in that same stitch. Now we're going to go to the next stitch and we're going to put 3 double crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2, and 3. So it was 4 in the first, 3 in the next. Now we'll go ahead and make his ears real quick. We're going to do a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook of this chain, like that. And now we're going to do a half double crochet in the next stitch, a half double crochet in the next stitch, a half double crochet in the next stitch. So that's 3 half doubles in a row, and then you can see we have one more here. We're gonna single crochet in it, And then I'm going to do one more single crochet right here at the top, and it's right there through those 2 loops on that stitch. You see? I'm just going to single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Second stitch from the hook, I'm going to single crochet. And I'm going to put a half double in each of the next 3 stitches, just like the other one. 1 half double, the next stitch, half double, next stitch, half double, and now I'm going to put a single crochet right here in the last stitch, and then again I'm going to put a single crochet at the top of this stitch right here through, it's kind of at the side of it, through that loop and then that loop. Single crochet, and now I'm going to lock it. Now I'm going to lock it all down by, see, here's our last double crochet that we did. I'm going to slip stitch 2 times in the side of it, so 1 here and 1 here. So I'm just going to grab a loop on the side, slip stitch, and then I'm going to go down a little bit on the same stitch, grab 1 loop, slip stitch, and then I'm going to come down here to the next stitch. Here's where we put the 3 doubles. So I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to slip stitch, slip it, like that. Like that. Now I'm just going to clip this off. Oh, I dropped him on the floor, sorry about that. But I'm just going to go ahead and tie that off. And you can hide the tail to it. Now I'm going to come down and put a tail on him. Now I'm going to put his tail on, starting in, here's where we last slip stitched, so counting this one as number 1, I'm going to count over 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's the one I'm going to start in. And I'm going to start by chaining 1. Now I'm going to put all these stitches in the same stitch. I'm going to put a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet. These are all going in the same stitch. And then I'm going to do a half double crochet and a single crochet. So that stitch got a single, half double, double, half double, single, and then I'm going to go to the next stitch and slip stitch. And I'm going to tie that off. There's his tail. So now I'm going to go through and hide all these tails real quick. Okay, you can be done if you want now, but I'm just going to sew on an eye and a nose with my yarn needle and some thread. Just decide where you want it. I'm going to go from the underneath and just do a couple little bitty, or maybe just one little bitty thing like that, and then I will hide these tails in the back. You can do it a couple times if you want, but you can also buy little googly eyes if you want, but I think this works just as good. It's real easy. Okay, once you get the little tails hidden on the eye, just clip it off. And then I'm going to do the ear and the nose. I got some pink here. kind of going to do maybe the same kind of thing with the nose. You just kind of decide where you want to put it. Little bitty thing there for the nose. And leave the tailing in the back just like I did before. For the ear, I kind of just went in the center of it with some thread. You don't even have to do this, but I just took some yarn on and just started going down, kind of embroidering it. I'm not very good at embroidering stuff, so all the way down inside of the ear. And remember, you don't have to even put a face on it. I'm just doing it for fun. It's kind of like that. So I'm just going down my ear one little stitch at a time until I get down to the bottom of it. Okay, I've finished both ears, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Now you can sew it on anything that you want to sew it on. I think it turned out pretty cute. So please don't forget to check out all my other tutorials too, and subscribe to my channel. I try to put videos out all the time. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook too, and you can post all your crochet items on there. I'd really like to see everything. And until next time, have a good day. Okay, for this project, I'm just using regular Red Heart Super Saver worsted away acrylic, this one. And I'm going to be using a size I 5.5mm crochet hook. I did one, I got some tails to hide on him, but so you can get an idea about how big he is. I like that. Okay, he's real easy. You want to start with the slip knot on your hook. And you want to start off with a chain of 4. You can use the magic circle if you want. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first one to form a ring. Like that. Now I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to go and I'm going to do 12 double crochets through the center of the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now you want to slip stitch into the first double crochet to close that round off. Like that. And then you can pull your tail back here and it will make that circle, the center circle, a little bit smaller. And I'm going to start off with a chain 1. This time around I'm going to work 2 double crochets in every stitch. So I'm going to go back into the exact same stitch that I just slip stitched into and do 2 double crochets. 1, 2. Now I'm going to work around, putting 2 double crochets in every stitch. When you get back around to the beginning, you should have a total of 24 double crochets. Made it back around after putting 2 double crochets in every stitch, and again I'm going to slip stitch into my first double crochet like that. Now I'm going to start on its head, and I'm going to start with a chain 1. And now I'm going to be working this in this very first, the same stitch that we just slip stitched into, and I'm going to go into it. I'm going to do a half double crochet, and in the same stitch I'm going to put 2 double crochets. So there's 1, 2. Now I'm going to move to the next stitch right here. In this next stitch I'm going to put 3 triple crochets all into the same stitch, triples. So there's 1, 2, and there's 3. Now I'm going to move over here to the next stitch, and in this stitch I'm going to put 2 doubles, 1, 2, and then a half double in that same stitch, just like that. So that's his little head. I'm going to go ahead and end it by slip stitching in the same stitch that I just put that last half double in. And now I'm going to clip this yarn off. Tie this. You can go back and hide that tail in a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to start his wings. So I want to count over. Here's the stitch that we were working in. We're going to start in this one right next to it. That's empty. We're not going to start in, but we're going to start counting from there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 4th one is where I'm going to start in. So I'm going to start with a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to work back down this chain by putting a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. And then in the next stitch I'm going to put a half double crochet. And in the last stitch here of the chain I'm going to put a double crochet. Like that. And now I'm going to skip 1 stitch, and then the next stitch I'm going to slip stitch and tie that off, and that is one little wing like that. Now I'm gonna do the same on the other side, but now I'm just gonna count down to 1, 2 stitches, and I'm gonna start in the second one. And chain 4, 3, 4, single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, half double in the next stitch, and then double in the last stitch of that chain, double crochet. And now we're going to skip 1 stitch and slip stitch into the next. And tie that off. Now you have his other little wing made. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hide all these tails real quick so they're not in the way. Okay, now I'm going to start and do his feet. So I'm going to count now from this, I'm going to count from the stitch right after his wing. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to start in the 4th one. And I'm going to start by doing a chain of 3. And I'm going to slip stitch into the 2nd stitch from the hook, slip stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet in the last stitch of the chain, like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch back into this stitch. And I'm going to chain 3 again. 3. Slip stitch into the 2nd stitch. Single crochet into the next stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch again, back into the same stitch. Now I'm going to chain 3 one more time. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch into the 2nd stitch. Single crochet in the last stitch. And slip stitch one more time, back into that same stitch. And then I'm going to tie that off. Like that. So that's one little foot. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. Going to count down from the next one from my wing. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where I'm going to start. Start my yarn. And I'm just going to do this one the same way that I just did the other one. Chain 3. Slip stitch in the 2nd stitch, single crochet in the last stitch of that chain, and then slip stitch back into the same spot that we started, chain 3, slip stitch into the 2nd stitch, single crochet in that last stitch of that chain, slip stitch back into the same spot. One more time, I'm going to chain 3, slip stitch into the 2nd stitch, single crochet into the last stitch of that chain, and slip stitch back into that spot that we started in. And now I'm going to tie this one off. And that is his other foot. Okay, now for his face, you can do it kind of however you want. For his nose, I'm just gonna start with a slip knot on my hook, and I'm gonna do a chain of 2, and I'm just gonna single crochet in 2nd stitch, or the very first chain, like that. And then I'm just gonna clip that off, so that's kind of gonna be his nose. You could also use, like, if you had felt, you could cut a little nose out of felt or something. But then that's what it looks like. I'm gonna sew it on with my yarn needle. So just decide where you want to put it. Just kind of up here in the middle somewhere. And then kind of just, once you get it sewed on, you can go back through the top of it once. I'm going to pull off one of these strings, and I'm just going to use one to sew it on with. Probably just get it put on there how I want it, and now I'm going to go back to the top of it. And back through again. And then you just want to kind of hide these tails in the back of your piece. Weave them in a couple times. Okay, and then his eyes. You can use Google eyes or something if you want, but I'm gonna make these eyes the same way I made the eyes for the little bunny applique that I did, if you've seen that. But I got some black yarn on my needle, and you just kind of decide where you want to put them. Go up, and then I just go back down. Make a little bitty bump like that, and then you just kind of got to weave it in on the back. Like that, and then hide your tails. Don't pull it too tight or you'll pull that bump out, or that little bitty eye. Just hide them. Okay. Now I was going to put a little bit of hair at the top. You can use orange or yellow or whatever. Probably just use some orange. Of that I just took a few strands, a few inches long, in my yarn needle. And I just picked like 3 stitches at the top. Remember them 3 triple crochets we did at the beginning? I used those 3. And I flip it over. And then I kind of just pull my yarn through like that. And then grab both of them and pull them both through. Pull a knot at the top. And I do that same thing with the next stitch. Pull a loop. And then pull all 3, or all 2, both strings through. And then again. And then you just kind of clip them short. And you can use more strings if you want, or you don't even have to do that. That's up to you. And then I'm going to hide these tails. There he is. That's it. That's all I do for him. And you can sew it on to whatever you want to sew it on. It's a cute little Easter project. Nice and quick and easy. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out all my other tutorials. I got a cute little bunny applique too if you want some more for Easter. And don't forget to check out my Facebook page too. And until next time, have a good day. Okay, I'm going to be making this little chicken pot holder. So it's really easy to make. I'm going to be using Peaches and Cream. It's a 100% cotton yarn. If you want to make sure that you use cotton for a pot holder, because acrylic will melt if you try to pick something hot up with it. But I guess if you're just using it for decoration, acrylic would probably work. But I'm going to use 100% cotton. And color I'm using is called Oasis. Of course, you use any color that you want. And I'm using a size I 5.5mm crochet hook. Okay, and you want to start off with a slip knot. And I'm going to start with a chain of 4. Now if you want to use the magic circle here, you can. Otherwise, go ahead and slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring. Now I'm going to do a chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. And now I'm going to go back through the center of the ring and do 11 more double crochets. So counting that chain 3, I'll have a total of 12 double crochets. Okay, once you get your 12 double crochets, sometimes you can pull this tail and make your center circle a little bit smaller. Closes it up a little bit. Now I'm not gonna close it. What I'm gonna do now is chain 3 and turn my work. Now I'm gonna go back across. This time I'm gonna put 2 double crochets in every stitch. So this chain 3 counts as the first one. So I'm going to go back into the same stitch right here and do another one. So that's like 2 double crochets in that first stitch. So now I'm going to work all the way around, putting 2 double crochets in each stitch. So you should have a total of 24 stitches when you get back around to the other side. Okay, I'm coming to the end here, and you want to make sure you put your last 2 double crochets into the top of this chain 3. Don't want to forget that chain, otherwise it's going to be kind of lopsided. Just like that. Now I'm going to chain 3 and turn. That chain 3 counts as my first double crochet. Now this round, this is going to be my first double crochet in the first stitch. I'm going to jump to the next stitch and I'm going to put 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And then I'm going to go to the next stitch and it's just going to be 1 double crochet. Next stitch is going to have 2 double crochets. So I'm just gradually increasing it, making it bigger. The next one is just going to be 1 double crochet, and then the next stitch will be 2. So you just want to repeat that: 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, until you get back to this side. Okay, when you make it to the end, your last you should have 2 stitches in your last stitch, and it should be in the top of that chain 3 there. And you should have a total of 36 stitches at the end of this round. Now I'm going to chain 3, and that's going to be my first double crochet. Turn my work. Now this time, this is my first double crochet. I'm going to go to the next stitch and I'm going to put 1 double crochet. And then the next stitch, I'm going to put 2 double crochets. Like that. Now the next stitch is going to get 1 double crochet. The next one, 1 double crochet. And the next one will get 2 double crochets. So that's the repeat. this time around, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the stitch after that, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. So it's 2 double crochets in between each of the increased stitches, and the increased stitches are 2 double crochets in the same stitch. So double crochet, 2 double crochets, double, double, 2, all the way till you get to the end, and you should have a total of 48 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, I'm coming to the end, and again, you should end in an increase, and it should be in the top of this chain 3, 2 double crochets in that last stitch. Now I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. I'm going to go around one more time. This time it's going to be 3 double crochets in a row and then an increase. So this is our first one. We're going to go to the next stitch and double crochet, and then the next one and double crochet. So that's 3 double crochets in a row, and the next one is going to be an increase. It's going to get 2 double crochets in the same stitch, just like that. Now 3 double crochets in a row. There's 1, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. So you just want to repeat this until you get to the end, and you should have a total of 60 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, once you made it to the end, should be an increased stitch at the end again, and you have 60 stitches. Now I'm going to go down here and back up with single crochet. So I'm just going to chain 1, and I'm going to work my way down, putting a single crochet in these stitches. Now, since you're working on the sides of these double crochets, it's going to be kind of hard to tell where they go. So I just kind of evenly space my single crochets out. It's kind of like this. It don't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be a certain number. Just get them kind of evenly spaced down the side. Okay, when you get down here to the center, single crochet right through that center. And now chain 12. This is going to be the little ring to hook it up onto something with. Now go back down again into the ring again, and a single crochet right back into that center ring, center hole again, like that. If you want this bigger or smaller, you can adjust the number of chains. Now just work your way back up, evenly spacing out single crochets. All this is doing is kind of cleaning up these rough edges. Make it look a little bit neater up the side. Okay, when you get to the top here, go ahead and single crochet in this top stitch, like that. So that's what it kind of looks like. Remember, there was no certain number of stitches you had to have. Just evenly space them out. Okay, you single crocheted into that top stitch. Now you're going to go back into that same stitch and double crochet, or half double crochet, I'm sorry. Single crochet, half double crochet, and then double crochet, all into the same stitch, like that. And then you go to the next stitch, and we're going to be working triple crochets. It's where you yarn over twice. Go through and triple. 1, go back in and triple again. 2, again, all in the same stitch. 3, again. 4, again. 5, again. 6, again. 7, and then one more time after that for a total of 8 triple crochets all into that same stitch. Now we're going to go to the next stitch, and I'm going to do a double crochet, and then a half double crochet in that same stitch, and then a single crochet in that same stitch, like that. So we did, in the first stitch, we did a single, a half double, and a double. The next stitch was 8 triples, and then we went to the next stitch and did a double, a half double, and a single. Now we're going to go and work five single crochets in a row. There's 1, go to the next stitch, 2, the next stitch, 3, the next stitch, 4, the next stitch is 5. So now we got his head made. Now we're going to put the feathery shell stitching on. So we're going to skip 2 stitches, skip, skip, and in the next stitch we're going to put 7 double crochets in the same stitch. 7. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then you want to skip 2 stitches, skip, skip, and single crochet in the next. And then we'll skip 2 stitches again, skip, skip, put 7 double crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip 2, skip, skip, and single crochet in the next. Skip 2, skip, skip, 7 doubles in the next. So we're just going to repeat this pattern until you get all the way around the bottom up to back here. Okay, once you make it all the way to the end, and I'm just going to reach around and slip stitch into the top of one of these single crochets up here. Slip stitch, and now I'm going to tie this off, clip my yarn, like that. There you got his main body made. Now we'll work on his face. So I'm going to use some red. I'm going to work in the stitch up here that we put a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double in. I'm going to start in that single crochet. So I'm going to start by pull my yarn through, and I'm going to chain 1. Okay, I'm going to go back into the same stitch, and I'm going to put a single crochet, a half double crochet, and then a double, all into that same stitch. Now I'm going to skip a stitch, and in the next one I'm going to do the same thing. Single, half double, and then a double. Skip a stitch, and the next stitch, single, half double, and a double. Skip a stitch, and the next one, single, half double, and then a double. Skip a stitch, and the next stitch, single, half double, and a double, like that. So you have 5 of these little shell stitches. Now I'm just gonna tie it off right now, just like that. Okay, you want to make sure you pull the make that knot tight, and then when you sew it in, use your yarn needle and sew it in. Pull it kind of tight. Run it through. Pull it tight there, so it's not quite so pointed at the top. And then just sew it in and hide your tail. Like that. Now I'm going to make the red on the chest. I'm going to start I'm going to start down here in that stitch that we put the double, the half double, and the single. I'm going to start in that single crochet, and I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm going to jump to the next stitch and single crochet, and then in the next stitch I'm going to half double crochet, and in the next stitch I'm going to double crochet, and in the next stitch I'm going to single crochet, like that. And then I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch and tie that off. And you want to hide them tails. Now I'm going to come up here and put a beak. Okay, I'm going to start, and here's where my last little top of the chicken went. I'm going to skip the next stitch, and I'm going to start in the next one. And I'm going to start with a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. And I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch right here. And then I'm going to come to the next stitch right down here and slip stitch. Like that. And I'm going to tie this off. And hide that tail. Like that. I'll hide them tails in a second. I'm going to go ahead and put an eye on here, and I'm just going to sew it on with my yarn needle. Just going to take a piece of black yarn, and wherever I want my eye, I'm just going to come from the bottom up. And just sew a little eye on. time. Like that. And then you want to hide these tails. So I'm going to go ahead and hide all these tails real quick. Okay, once you get all your tails hidden, that's it. It's really pretty easy. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and please don't forget to check out all my other tutorials. And you can always come and post all your pictures on my Facebook page. I'll post a link to that below in the description box. And until next time, have a good day. Okay, for this project, you're going to need some balloons. Doesn't matter what color, because it's just going to get popped later anyways. But these are, I'm using 12-inch balloons. You can probably pretty much use any size that you want, just depending on how big of a basket you want. And then you're going to need, I got Mod Podge. It's a type of crafting glue. You don't have to get this brand, but you want to get any type of crafting glue that's going to dry clear. And then you're going to need whatever color yarn you want to use. Doesn't really matter what brand. It doesn't really matter if it's acrylic or cotton or anything like that. You can use, if you got a bunch of scrap yarn, just use a bunch of different scraps to go around it. It's really completely up to you. And you're going to need a bowl to mix some glue with a little bit of water, and then you'll be able to dip your yarn into it. And scissors, of course. Okay, and you might want to lay newspaper out because it probably get a little bit messy. And your balloon, you want to blow it up. Now you don't want to over blow it because you want it to look egg shaped. See, like about like that. If I would have over blew it, it would have got bigger up on this end. And so just blow it to where it looks egg shaped. Tie it off. And then I'm going to mix some of my glue with a little bit of water. Glue. I got a bowl and a whisk, so we're gonna open up your craft glue. I'm gonna mix probably like 2 parts glue, 1 part water. So pour some in here. I'm only adding a little water because maybe not even that much water, just a little bit to thin it out, so it's a little bit easier. So maybe not even that much of a, maybe like 4 parts glue, 1 part water, but just so it gets a little bit of a runnier consistency, so it's not quite so thick. So not much water, but enough that it's going to be a little bit runnier. I think that's gonna that way it's not, the glue's not just globbing on your yarn. So, sorry if that's not, so just kind of like that, where it's not so thick, so it's a little runny, kind of like that. A little thick, but not real thick. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And then you can take your, now if you want to just do like strips of yarn at a time, that's fine. I've actually seen people dunk their whole skein in here and do it that way. I'm not going to do it that way. So, if you want to do strips of yarn at a time, you can. I'm just going to keep going from one solid roll. So I'm just going to put some in. Because if you want to use different colors, you'll have to use strips. So get it kind of, dunk it in there after you got your balloon all filled up. And, okay. Let me find my end. Yeah, it's pretty messy. Okay. I kind of just take it and maybe string a little bit of the glue off as I go, like that. So it's not quite so much. See how I'm pulling it through my fingers, and that's kind of getting rid of some of the glue. And remember always, if you know a different way to do this than what I'm showing you, that's fine, because I know everybody makes things different. Sometimes I get people telling me that I don't do things right, but everybody's different. So then we'll just bring our balloon over here. And I always just kind of start at the top here, and I just start wrapping it like this all the way around. And you want to kind of heavily wrap it. Let me try to fix my camera here so you can see me a little bit better. Just 1 second here. Okay, I just take it and keep going and wrapping it from top to the bottom, and then eventually I'll just start going back and forth the other way until I get it really covered. It's not really any certain way you have to do it, just until it's real covered. Okay, now I gotta dip some more in my... See, it's really messy, but it's fun. How often as adults do we get to play with this kind of stuff? I don't very often, so... See, I don't even know my sponges are even going to help me. Okay, and as I take it, I'm just kind of letting the excess go through my fingers and wrap it as I go. I'm probably going to use a lot on here to make it where you can't even hardly see through it. So I'm going to wrap it quite a bit. But that's it. Just keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. Going both ways, you know, until it gets to the coverage that you like. Okay, once you let it dry for several hours, even overnight if you want. It should be kind of hard. Then what you want to do is just take a pin and pop it and hope that it works. Like that. And you can get the balloon out later if you have to. I can pull it out at the top, see? I'm going to pull mine out. Okay, now what you want to do is just take your scissors and cut like a hole out of the front. So it doesn't have to be a perfect hole, but I'm sorry, I don't really, can't show you that well. It's kind of... However big you want your hole to be, just cut it out. I don't think mine was quite dry enough, so it's not holding together right. So I'm gonna let it dry some more after I get this hole cut out of it, like that. Okay, if you happen to have the same problem I did, like I just got in a hurry and didn't let mine dry long enough. I didn't let it dry overnight, I did let it dry a few hours. What I did after I cut my hole out I noticed that the bottom of mine was kind of collapsing in, and it's not supposed to do that. So I stuck a balloon in the hole and I blowed it back up, and then I put some more fresh glue on the bottom, and now I'm gonna let it dry for a few more hours, and I think that'll work. So I'll go ahead and let this dry, and I'll get back with you. Okay, I got mine to work, and I just let it finish drying overnight. That way I knew it was gonna work good. Now you're gonna notice that it's not gonna stand on its own. So I see some people make stands for them, like little round stands to sit on the bottom. What I'm actually gonna do is I just got a baggie and I just put some beans in it, and I'm just gonna use it as a weight. Beans, or you can use sand or something. I just had some beans up in the cabinet. And I'm gonna fold it up, and if you want to like wrap cloth around this or something, you can, but I'm just gonna set it in the bottom. I still got my hole cut, and then it acts as a weight and it makes it stand up. And then I'm just going to cover the bottom with Easter grass, so you won't see that. But I'll finish doing that in a minute. But what I'm going to do is, if you want, I'm going to go around the opening circle here with something. You can use a ribbon if you want, or anything, lace, to make the opening a little bit prettier. I think I'm just going to crochet something, because I don't have any ribbon or anything right now. So what I'm going to do is grab some yarn and the needle, if you want to do it like me. I'll be using, I just grabbed one, 5.5mm crochet hook. What I'm going to do is make a chain that'll kind of fit around the opening that I made. And your opening is not going to be exactly as mine, because we just kind of did it with our hands. I mean, we didn't measure or anything, we just cut it. So make a chain to fit around yours. Making sure your chain is a multiple of 6. So, let's see, I still got a while to go here. Okay, I got my chain and it fits around my opening. You know, it don't have to be perfect, but just about like that. And I did it in a multiple of 6, which I did a chain of 60. And of course your opening's probably going to be different than mine. So, oh, and the yarn I'm using is this, it's some sparkly yarn. It's Caron sparkly yarn. Okay. I made a chain of 60. You do yours in your multiple of 6. And then you add one more. And now I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. I'm just going to make some shell stitching to go around it. And I'm going to do one single crochet for the length of the chain. So one single crochet in every stitch until I get to the end. Okay, when you get to the end, you want to do a chain 1 and turn. Now you want to go back into the same stitch and do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Skip 2 stitches. Skip, skip, single crochet in the next. And now we're just going to be repeating this. Skip 2 and 5 doubles in the next. We only did the 3 doubles on the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we skip 2 again, skip, and single crochet in the next, skip 2 again, and put 5 doubles in the next. My camera's not focusing. And then we skip 2 again after that single crochet and put 5 doubles in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip 2, single crochet in the next, skip 2, 5 doubles in the next. So you just want to repeat this until you get to the end. Okay, when you get to the end, you should have 2 stitches and then the little kind of chain at the end. You want to do 3 double crochets in that very last, it's actually a stitch, but it's kind of hidden. It kind of looks like a chain one or something, but 3 double crochets, maybe. If it didn't come out exactly even, it's not that big of a deal. And then I'm going to tie off here. And I'm going to hide my tails, and then what I'm going to do is glue it, use hot glue and glue this on the front. And if you decided to use a ribbon, you can use hot glue too, but remember to use a low heat hot glue gun, otherwise I think it might melt that glue. So what I'm doing is just gluing this on. It's real easy. Put a little bit of hot glue there around the edge. Just do a little bit at a time. I'm kind of hot gluing it to that row of single crochet that we did in the very beginning. And you can trim off any extras that hang over at the end. And it's going to go around and get it all glued on. Okay, there it is. It's finished. I just added some Easter grass and some eggs, and you put Easter candy or whatever you want into it. It's real easy. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and please don't forget to chat me out on Facebook too. And if you make this, you can post a picture of it on my Facebook page. I'd like to see it. I think they're really cool, and it seems like the possibilities for the colors and everything are endless. So I'd love to see a picture of it.